Hi guys, it's month 24 of Promptsquad. I've just realised that means we've been doing this for 2 years. That feels unbelievable. I can't believe it's been that long. It feels a lot shorter than that to me for some reason, but I don't know, it's weird to think. Anyway, this month's prompt was a lot of fun to me, or, I thought so anyway. We were all taking on foreign cultures. Now, with us all being stuck inside one way or another due to the virus this year, I kind of hoped it would be nice for us all to do a bit of exploring, with our pens and pencils at least, and I was really chuffed to see what everyone's response was to the prompt. I mean, I'm going to be showing off all of the beautiful art that everybody created towards the second half of this video, so please make sure to stay and see what everyone created, because it's really inspirational to see what everyone comes up with every month. Now, first though, I'm going to go into what I did this month, and I'll be honest, I kind of felt like it would be a bit too obvious, a bit too on the nose if I went with Japanese culture. Because if you followed me for a while, I think you would have guessed that I was going to choose it, and I decided to go a tiny bit west of Japan and choose China instead. But to be fair, okay, I really wanted to create something inspired by the Chinese New Year. Now, many of my students at the moment are on their winter holidays getting ready for it, and it's been a lot of fun hearing about their own different traditions, both in their own families and their own region. And yeah, I just thought it would be nice to look into Chinese culture and the folktales around it, especially with the holiday being on. So I decided to create this illustration inspired by the story of Chinese New Year and how it came to be spread out over this 12-year period that it's run. Now, each is signified by a different animal. And because China is so big, I know this isn't the general overall story, so it's going to be very different depending on where you are and all that, but in general, here in the UK, the way I've always heard it described is that these 12 animals were crossing a river in a race to decide who the year should be named after, and the order that they passed the finish line is the order of the animals in rotation. So the rat came first because it was intelligent enough to ride and jump off the ox's back at the last minute at the finish line so that it would win. And then the ox, being humble and understanding, took second place. And then you got the tiger and the rabbit, I think, who were both fast and strong. Then you get the dragon and its snake son. The horse and the goat followed them, being, steadfast and resilient. And then the cheeky monkey, the rooster, and finally the dog and the pig were last. I kind of like how star signs are seen here. The year that you're born, and even the birthday and the birth hour, if you go far enough into it, all are supposed to say things about your personality in Chinese culture. It's a real rabbit hole if you're looking and you're interested in learning about it. I would definitely recommend jumping into it because it's very funny to find out, what your friends and family's animals are, and especially if you start looking at the compatibility charts that they have, that can be very funny. So yeah, I would definitely recommend looking into it. So, when I was putting together this illustration, I was keeping that story in mind, and I knew I wanted to mix the depictions of each of the creatures with the dancing dragon tradition, if you've seen that you see around New Year's time. I really like the idea of having the animals being the ones to make the dragon dance down the street. And I also knew I didn't want to make this a really realistic illustrated scene because I wanted to try and work with a similar art style to what you see during New Year's and the New Year's animals in Chinese art, which is this kind of red silhouette and pattern depiction. Now, because I knew that, and I knew I was going to be stuck with a monotone colour palette with patterns on it, it was kind of hard to just start painting. And I ended up doing a lot of sketches of the different animals and then bringing those into Photoshop so I could just play with the level of details that I wanted to include. Honestly, if I'd been able to get to Hobbycraft, I would have bought just a big sheet of lino and gone full screen print with this, but as I couldn't go, I decided to go second best option, and I took that drawing and traced it onto canvas paper so I could paint it freehand instead. I looked everywhere, by the way, and I could not get an explanation of the reasoning behind certain flower patterns on each of the different animals and the illustrations of this style. There are flowers associated with each animal when you look them up, but the pattern language, the way those flowers are depicted, is really hard to find out. So if you do know a resource about that, I would be really interested in finding out more. But in the end, I took reference images of each of the animals and I tried to work in their individual flower patterns that I'd see on those in my own take for my own painting as best as I could, so I know I might have made some mistakes without realising. But yeah, I mean, a big thing that I kept considering while I was designing this overall was kind of the negative white space and how easy it was going to be to differentiate the different forms and subjects of the painting. I mean, weighing up the details and the patterns versus the readability of the final image overall, it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of sketching going on, so I was very glad that I kind of took this extra time, this extra step to go and design it all on Photoshop, so I could just kind of undo if things went wrong. And also, it's just easier than when you do it during painting, isn't it? So yeah, I still ended up changing things later on when I was painting, but if I didn't do this step, I just don't think it would have been a good enough foundation to start from, if you know what I mean. And yeah, on that kind of talk, I wanted to ask you, the Promptsquad members, when it comes to your art process, how much of this gubbins do you do, like this different stage? One of the reasons I haven't really done a sketchbook tour, of many reasons, but one of the main reasons of the sketchbook tour, my main sketchbook, is that it's a real like mix of messy sketches, like the initial pencil sketches you see in this. And yeah, I mean, I just like to draw roughs for almost all the art that I do, and then work that up into the final design. But I was wondering how far you all go. Are you more free-spirited with it? Do you just kind of go straight from like a sketch to just painting the thing onto canvas? Or, you know, do you go even further than me? Are you like super analytical, very meticulously planning out every part of your painting, you know, colour schemes, details, all of that? I'd really love to know your thoughts and the way that you approach paintings and art that you do. So this next part is painting it onto the paper. I had my rough sketch printed out and I had to coat the back of that paper in some graphite because I don't have any of that fancy tracing paper stuff you can get. I'm old schooling it with a bit of scribbles and transferring the design onto that paper. You'll see my ridiculously small pencil. I wanted to show it off a bit, mainly because it just hurts to know that I can't draw with this anymore. My hands are too big. I've had to move on to its sister, but I loved it so much. And I can't throw it away. What do you do with these little pencils? It's just living in my pencil case now. And do you guys throw away your baby pencils? Do you ever let them get to this point anyway? You're just like, what are you doing? Get onto a new pencil. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about it. I just feel bad throwing it out. But yeah, I'll start a collection, I guess. But once I had it transferred onto this main paper, I sketched it all up, I could go and start painting. Now, I decided to go with just a red colour palette for two reasons. Main one being this style of art is always really done in red and red silhouette, but also red is the luckiest colour in China and Chinese culture, so I thought this is a new year, I want you all to have some good luck to start the new year off with, so this is me pushing some good luck out into the universe with this. So one of the things I found out when I was reading was that your birth year is unlucky for you, which, I don't know, I feel like that should be the opposite personally, but I guess you're cursed this year if you're the year of the ox. But you'll need to go and get some red presents off your family, I guess, to keep you lucky for the next year. But on the plus side, I think being an ox is probably one of the best animals personally after I was reading it. Let's be honest, the ox was the true winner of the race. It was just cheated out of it. And if you think about how important oxes are across like all human civilization, you wouldn't be anywhere without agriculture, and you wouldn't have done any of that agriculture to that scale without an ox. So, I don't know, I think it's one of the best animals to be. And honestly, it seems that way if you read like what the Chinese culture says about the characteristics of people born in the year of the ox. They're supposed to be so reliable, strong, calm, caring. Yeah, I think we all need an ox person in our life, don't we? That's a really good thing to have. So yeah, if you're now this year going to be 12, 24, 36, 48, any multiple of 12, congratulations, you're one of the best animals in the thing, in my opinion. So yeah, you're going to have to let me know what your animals are, Promptsquad. And if you too relate to them, I mean, do you feel very oxy? I'm a goat. I don't feel very sure I'm a big goato oxo person. I don't know. I don't really feel an association with a goat, but I don't know. I think it's quite a nice one to be as well, I guess. I don't know, you'll have to let me know what you think. Anyway, I finished this with the Kuretake watercolour set and some of my thinnest brushes to get the lines as clean as I'm able to do. Now, I know I probably could have just cleaned up this sketch digitally earlier, but I really fancy painting this one. It's so relaxing to paint like this, especially because it's just one colour and then it's all very detailed, like line work. It just, I don't know, it really distracted me and made me feel kind of chilled out and relaxed. And it kind of reminds me how important it is to kind of do activities like this in your life that get you into that contemplative, relaxed mind state. I think I've really missed painting, to be honest. With it being winter, it's just not great for painting, isn't it? So I can't wait for the weather to warm up and just get more light so I can paint more often than I'm currently doing. So, after I had my red base down, I used a white acrylic paint and layered it up to add these finer pattern details onto the creatures. It was kind of hard to choose how watered down to go with the acrylic because I didn't want to reactivate the kind of gouache? I don't know. Gouache parts of the Kuretakes, but I also needed to add some water so that it would, paint smoothly and thinly enough when I was doing it. So in the end, I did make a few changes to the painting that I'd sketched up, kind of because of painting ability, kind of because of just how the paint was coming out. So I don't think it was the worst thing in the world though, because with these fewer details, it was kind of a bit easier to differentiate the animals in the composition. So, swings and roundabouts, how it is, isn't it? And this is the final piece. And I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out for once. It was a lot of fun simplifying down these animals into their silhouette shapes. And yeah, it was an interesting challenge just trying to make each animal clear and detailed enough without also making them too complicated to understand from further away. It was also a lot of fun just drawing animals I don't usually draw, like the rooster or the goat. Kind of inspires me more to look outside of, cats and fantasy creatures all the time that I'm usually drawn to. And yeah, just think about incorporating other creatures more often into my art. And it's also got me wanting to do some lino cutting, but that's, future Jasmine's problem. She can deal with that. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed looking into Chinese culture with me today. And Happy New Year's to you all, come the 11th of February, I think. You'll have to let me all know whether you're due a lucky year or not. And if not, this painting is for you. I'm sending you some good luck and some red artwork for you, best I can do at the moment. So, okay, that's it. And let's get on to all the amazing art that you guys created for Promptsquad this month. Firstly, Tara created two beautiful paintings for this month's prompt. What I really love about her take on the prompt is that she took on two very different cultures and then brought them together under her own cohesive sense of style and her choices of colour. The first is inspired by a Norwegian folktale called Huldra, I don't know if I said that right, about a girl with a cow's tail, basically. And honestly, I didn't know it, Tarara, but the way that you took these different scenes from the story and then brought them all together into this one illustration is so masterfully done, and it made me want to go and read it, so I think that's high praise indeed. And Tara also created this gorgeous Japanese-inspired character too, where she's taken hints of like traditional fabric design and patterns and then blended them into her own original character and style. They are both such lovely illustrations, and I really like that they almost have this matching or cohesive colour palette with each other too. I can definitely see this being like a series of around the world paintings. Hint hint, Tara. So T-Light created this abstract pattern piece inspired by the petroglyphs of the Aboriginal Australian people, and I think it's absolutely stunning. The forms are really natural and fluid, and they really make you think of kind of native flora as well. It's so freeform and just lovely to look at. It feels alive to me. Maybe this sounds a bit funny, but it also reminds me a bit of Gaudi in terms of the shaping, but also Gustav Klimt's and the Kiss. Those rich colours and patterns. It all makes me wonder if those artists were also inspired by Aboriginal art, the kind of way that T-Light has been this month. Yeah, it's really interesting to see. Far Photos also created two beautiful pieces this prompt month, and her first is very poignant for what's happening at the moment. This memorial piece is just very atmospheric in its colours and its lighting. It makes you think about current culture, not just ancient culture, which I thought was interesting to think about because I think me, like most people in Promptsquad, we went to the past when it came to this prompt, even though it wasn't specifically about foreign culture in the past. And it's cool to see that Far Photos and a few others have kind of questioned that approach and said, hey, how about modern culture? Why not look at that? So I really like that a few different artists thought about that, like Far Photos did. And Far Photos also painted this close-up image of a girl in these full Day of the Dead like decoration. Again, her colours are so vibrant and strong in contrast. It has a lot of life in this piece, and it's great to see that because this tradition is so beautiful, and I love seeing that it's being represented so well by Far Photos. Dave was very Aboriginal in his approach. Ha ha ha, so Aboriginal. I said I would say it, I can't deal. But yeah, I love that Dave went with earthy tones when he took on this idea of Aboriginal artwork. And I think, we can all agree, we don't often stay with these more muted colour palettes, especially when we're doing patterns. But Dave really shows you how well that can work in his work. I also really love the symmetry in his composition and how it curves around this central focal point of the hand. I think it's really interesting to see the level of detail of all these dots that Dave has painted in the background in contrast again to the design of the overall piece. It's kind of like a clash of these natural forms and then the symmetrical, almost like religious iconography that you kind of get with symmetry. It's really powerful, I think, this piece. And Dave, these dots, I don't know how you have the patience. I would have been copy and pasting these. I would be way too lazy to create this. Very well done. Nadia's painting of a French patissier kind of mixed with iconic architecture of France. It has this feel to me of this, like an aspirational travel poster almost, which I think is such a fantastic idea for this prompt. I always look at the entries every month at the end and I'm thinking, God, I wish I'd thought of that one. And yeah, I just loved that for Nadia's piece. It's this mix of a painterly approach in these food illustrations against these stripped back forms of architecture, an architect has just sketched them down. I just love that just beautiful cohesion of those two styles together to create this exciting overall composition. And I think it's just got that, I don't know, an artistic verve behind it that you just think of when you think of France. That's what you think of. And I think Nadia's really gotten that feeling of the culture really well. Carter made 2 gorgeous illustrations for this prompt too. I mean, again, I like to imagine these 2 being almost accompanying pieces to one another, kind of like a series. I don't know if you'd be interested in that, Carter, but I would really love to see you take on more different cultures and their traditional armor sets in your illustrations. Because, like, say with this first one, the Aztec Warrior, it has so much detail down to the colours, the pattern choices, and even the weapons that they had too. You get this feeling not only for the design, but the underlying purpose behind the armour and the thought process behind it. And the level of care that you've taken in painting them, Cara, it shows a real love and passion for what you're drawing, and I really love seeing that. I think it comes out through artwork. And again, you can see it in Carter's second piece, the Celtic Warrior with his battle horn. I love that Carter's matched his backgrounds with each armour set too, so that you can highlight the form as well as the structure of each suit of armour. I think they're just fantastic illustrations. I would definitely love to see this be part of a much wider series, I guess. Again, hint hint. So Emily also was very aboriginal. Okay, I'm going to stop it now. With her piece. I love that Emily took on not only this traditional patterned aboriginal style, but she also chose an animal from the culture to depict. In contrast to Dave's, Emily merged this with her own perspective on colour and signature pattern doodle style to create this almost a modern homage to the culture. It's very fantastical, which I really like, and it reminds me of Emily's space artwork in its colour palette. My favourite aspect of Emily's take is the fluidity of the patterns. They take on their own structure, irrespective of the composition, and it kind of feels like a piece of music. Like the art has a sound or a beat behind it, which I really like. It's hard to explain that feeling, but I hope you know what I mean. Lisbeth truly took this prompt and ran away with it. She took her own original character Miles and then went travelling around Europe with him for 10 days. And what's especially great about Lisbeth's take on the prompt is that she's kept a singular character that you can then go explore them with all of these different facets of different cultures from the same perspective as if you're on a journey with her and with Miles, which I really enjoy personally. I won't lie to you, made me hungry though, Lisbeth. Like Nadia, seeing all of this food so beautifully painted, making this month more difficult than it usually is. So with so much beautiful art created, I wasn't able to include all of the work that Lisbeth made, but as is true of all the members that create such beautiful art for Promptsquad, to see even more of their artwork and more of the things that they do beyond just what they create for Promptsquad, which is more than enough already, please make sure to follow them. I've got the links on screen and also in the description, so please check them out. And finally, Troy painted a northern pike inspired by the art of the Haida people. I hope I said that right. Troy's illustration has a wonderful flow to its composition, and it really reminds me of water in its shaping and its forms. I think my favourite aspect is the mixture of patterns throughout it, and how it isn't just present on the pike, but it's bleeding out into the background forms too, to give this piece these different structures and framing the fish really masterfully. It's really beautifully simple but powerful. I really like that. This mix of style and the colour palette too really gives Troy's painting, to me, this natural feel that also feels like it'd be really suited in a modern art gallery too. I think it's just spectacular. Goodness, that is everyone's art inspired by the prompt Foreign Cultures this month. It's been really wonderful travelling through the world with you guys and having a glimpse into what inspires you all too. It's really interesting to see what aspects of each art style you've been drawn towards and wanted to explore. At the start I wasn't really sure what everyone would end up choosing. I was really excited to see, but funnily enough, now that it's all together at the end of the month, it's oh yeah, of course they chose that. So yeah, it was really fun looking at all these different cultures with you. Now on to next month's prompt. So Emily suggested to get these prompts onto a wheel and then we can go and have a bit of randomness, have a bit of fun at this point, and just make it more interactive so we can all see the different prompts we've got at the moment. So, I know it was short notice, but the other day we got a few of these suggestions together from the members and added them onto this mini wheel. You'll all have to let me know what you think of this idea and give me more suggestions for the wheel too so that I can add them to next month's and we can spin an even bigger wheel. Okay, so let's spin it. Right. Okay, I thought Nadia had those, but you've had some bad luck there, Nadia, because Troy's gotten it with one. So next month, our prompt is going to be still life. So it looks like we're going back to art school, guys. I mean, let's take an object, go set it up however you want, and let's get drawing, let's get painting, however you want to approach this prompt. I mean, let's see what you do. I'm going to be really interested to see how everyone takes this one on. It's such like a traditional thing in art, but everyone's so creative here. It's going to be interesting to see what you all end up doing. And yeah, I think it's going to be very fun to see. I don't know about you guys, but I think I'll probably take a photo of what I'm going to draw so that I can show it in the video. But, if you'd like to do something similar, make sure you do include a photograph of what you're drawing too, what your still life setup was, so that I can include it in the video too. I think that'd be a lot of fun to see what everyone chose. But yeah, it doesn't matter how you want to take it on, it's all your choice. I think this next video though is going to be really interesting to see. So I really hope you're excited to get going on the next Promptsquad challenge too. The deadline is going to be the 1st of March, so we've got a little bit less time than usual this month. I'll make sure to have the next video with everyone's artwork and their links all up in the first week of next month. So if you'd like to join Promptsquad this month and create some still life art, make sure to tag your work with the hashtag Promptsquad, and if you have suggestions for the prompt wheel, I guess we'll call it that. Okay, the prompt wheel. Make sure to either comment here, maybe in the comments of this video, or message me on Instagram or email me, whatever you want with your prompt ideas, and I'll add it to next month's spin. I really hope you're all well and are taking care of yourselves. Thank you so much everyone for not only watching this but also creating so much beautiful artwork to show. The effort you always all go to, it always impresses me so much, and I feel very lucky to be able to bring them all together in these videos. So thank you all again, and I hope to chat to you all soon. See you later, bye!